It all came down to trauma.
Today, we're joined by a powerhouse in the world of healing and transformation, Dr. Lisa Palmer, founder and director of the Renew Center of Florida, the #1 treatment center in the nation for PTSD. Her groundbreaking work has been recognized worldwide, and she's been featured as a trusted expert on networks like ABC, Fox, CNN, NBC, and Sky, sharing her insights on mental health, relationships, trauma, and performance. How long does it take typically to rewire these patterns into your brain?
You're not going to like my answer.
In this episode, we break down the truths and myths about trauma, what we need to do to heal, and how spirituality might play a pivotal role in understanding ourselves.
It all comes back to who are we? Who are you? Those are the things that you're doing for yourself every day, every day.
Let's get into it. Dr. Palmer, what makes your approach different from other psychotherapists?
It's like, I'm a specialist in what I do. I have a lot of, alphabet soup or what have you next to my name, but who cares about that? I know a lot about the body. I know a lot about the mind. I know a lot about relationships. And a lot of my credentials serve those areas, right, where I actually have knowledge about those areas. And I'm able to bring all that together. So when a patient comes in to see me, I do like an assessment and strategy session. I can see what's happening with them health-wise. Okay, what kind of tests do they need? And like, what are the different practitioners that I coordinate with? If they need hormone testing or do they need this? What do we need to do to try to get this person in balance and get all the systems working? Me, I'm more of the electrician, right? But I know a lot about the whole body.
How everything works together. And how it affects what you're going to be helping them with, and vice versa.
So all these parts have to work together. It's kind of like having a car, right? You have, the body and the cosmetic aspect of the car, and you have the, all the parts, and you have the fuel, and you have the electrical system, and they all have to work together. And if they don't, then you can't have optimum functioning.
May I ask what led you to becoming a psychotherapist?
The expectation of me growing up was just that I was going to be a good citizen and study it. So when I left for college, because I had a big family in Rhode Island, they say, "What are you leaving for? Stay in Rhode Island." I was like, "No, I want to get out of Rhode Island. I want to do this and that." And so I had, especially at a young age, I was sort of like, I had stars to wish for and dreamt, and I followed those stars, even if everybody else thought that's just crazy. Why do that? Why get a doctorate? I wanted to be a plastic surgeon, to be honest with you. And so I was studying for that, and then I became Miss Vermont. I went
to Miss Vermont?
Miss Vermont.
Oh my gosh, look at you.
Yeah, I went to Miss USA, and then I kind of got interested in television. And so I went to school for that and kind of got into the broadcast world. And I thought, I could write stories and write positive stories and impact people or whatnot. And when I got into that, and at the time I was in local TV, now I do national news. But at the time, I realized I really wasn't creating positive stories for people. I really wasn't living out my purpose. And I quit that and I started all over again.
Wow.
And I started, thinking that I was going to write a book. And then I said, I probably should have some credentials next to this name. And so I then went to get my master's degree and then my doctorate, and everything went from there. I think it's just always been a desire to help people and to serve a greater purpose in the world. And this is just where my path led me.
What specifically led you to working on trauma, with trauma stuff?
When I got into this, I had a lot of my experience in the world of eating disorders. And what I realized in working with the eating disorder population was that a lot of them had trauma. At the core and the root of a lot of the issues that propped up, there was a lot of co-occurring issues that I treat. It all came down to trauma. And if you don't treat the trauma properly, you can't really treat anything. You're just treating symptoms. And I was really focused on helping people to regain and maintain balance for their life, not to keep patients long term. So to do that, you have to treat the trauma.
The root cause, right? When I think of PTSD, I think of veterans. I think of the Army. I think of rape victims. Can you please explain?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that PTSD is just related to veterans and like you said, but the thing is that people, all kinds of people have trauma, right? Like if you're not heard, that's a trauma. If you feel shame about something that's happened in your life, that's also a trauma.
Even not being heard as a child. Can you describe that for me a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, like the brain processes trauma different than regular memory, right? So the event gets stored in one part of the brain, the emotion in another, and then you have a core negative belief. So a lot of times when a trauma happens, I mean, obviously, your sympathetic nervous system gets very activated. You get into this fight or flight response, and it really affects you. And then your brain programming also becomes very different. So that is a trauma, and it affects people in different ways.
What is the definition, the clinical definition of like PTSD and trauma? And how does your opinion of that, like how does your definition of that differ from the clinical, if it does?
Well, I think that just to make it simple, right, is a lot of people, when they experience a trauma, an event that causes them anxiety, grief, they're reliving it in ways like where they're having memories or body memories, right? They have insomnia, they can't sleep at night, they have physical symptoms. So they have a lot of different symptoms showing up in their life and in their relationships, and they know it. They know something is not right with me, something's wrong with me, and I'm off balance right now. So I think simply put, right, that's, something's going on, and that you probably have some trauma.
I want to shift over a little bit to like physical symptoms. There's a lot of, including myself when I went through my journey, fight or flight. You're in fight or flight mode. Your sympathetic mode is overactivated, autonomic nervous system dysfunction.
Yeah.
Is there a way, you've touched on the symptoms, like we have insomnia, heart rate, right? Like all the physical symptoms that people get. Is there a way medically or not medically to measure that before it starts to happen?
This is what I'm going to say. If you're not sleeping at night, you can't sleep at night, there's a problem. Somewhere there's an issue, because when we sleep, we rest and digest, first of all. And you're going to find yourself, especially when you have, you got to track yourself. People wear those rings to track. Whatever works for you, but you've got yourself to track yourself, right? What do you need a ring for? You could track yourself, right? I mean, are you sleeping at night? How is your hygiene? Are you taking care of yourself? Do you have rapid heart rates? Is your heart beating really fast all the time? Or do you have panic attacks? Can you not think straight? Are you not focusing? Do you have trouble being productive? Are you avoiding socialization? There's indicators. How are you eating? How are you sleeping? Basic stuff. Even your bodily functions, how are those going?
Right.
Right? Like, how's your cycle?
Right.
Do you have migraines? Well, if you have migraines, you're probably not sleeping great, right? Do you have night sweats, migraines, back pains anywhere? What are you ignoring? What's going on, right? It's all interconnected. So you don't need technology to tell you that when you have yourself.
Yeah. You spoke about core negative beliefs earlier. Can you explain that to me a little bit? Like, how do they show up in somebody?
Yeah, so when somebody has a trauma, like I said, their brain processes it differently. So oftentimes they go through a process of dissociation when a trauma happens. There's different levels of dissociation. Dreaming is a dissociative state, right? But it's a way for you to survive whatever is happening at the time. And usually there's high emotions. And when you have these high emotions that are just going to come up, and it's very natural, things change in your body and your cortisol levels and your hormone levels and all this kind of stuff. And then there's also chemical changes that are happening in your brain. And in that process is often a split between head and body, right? So body's going to be at the scene dealing with whatever's there, and head sort of leaves. It has this dissociative state. So that's where you get that kind of split. But in that split, the brain is trying to figure out what to do. It's in survival mode. So the emotions get stored in one part, the event in another part, and then you're left with a negative rooted belief in another part. This is all happening pretty fast. This is why it's so important to build those positive core beliefs and to work on your emotions and work on mindfulness and really work on yourself during times when traumas are not happening. That way, when they're happening, it's not that you're not going to respond, you're not going to react, because you're going to have some reactions, but you're going to be better equipped. You're going to have a better foundation to deal with everything. If your chemistry is in alignment better, right? And chemistry could be vitamins, because vitamins can actually affect your mood too. Right? Nutrition, gut health is connected to brain health. So if your gut health's not great, and a lot of people have gut problems, they probably have problems with their neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine. A lot of people have balances that are off, and GABA levels, and all of these different neurotransmitters and things that also help to facilitate with helping you to be calm or helping you to be in a better mood. That's not the be all end all. That's not the be all end all of stabilizing mood. And that's something that a lot of people need to get. Because we've been trained as a society to, okay, you're anxious, take a pill. You're depressed, take a pill. You're this or that, take a pill. Take a something. That the solution's outside of you instead of within you. So the thing is that your body has a certain balance that it needs in order to be in a happy state, right? And we can recreate that by, balancing your gut flora, by balancing your hormones, by balancing your neurotransmitters properly, and then setting up the process for you to be able to think better so you can do better and you can be better.
That leads me to my next question is, I feel as though not a lot of people recognize their own trauma. They don't know. Like they might say no, I don't have trauma. Why is that, do you think?
I think it's like anything else, that we have to just be aware, and we need the knowledge and education. And people are definitely becoming more educated about trauma over the years. This has become more of a hot topic of discussion. When I started talking about trauma, not many people really was talking about it and being in the open. I think a lot of celebrities have come out more with their own issues. So they've made mental health more of an open topic to discuss. We have podcasts where people are talking about their life, and regular influencers are just talking about what's going on with them. So I think that the discussion about trauma has become more mainstream.
It's becoming more normalized and okay to talk about, where I feel as though growing up for me, well, first of all, having immigrant parents, which we all know, that stigma is actually quite real. We're it's not okay to talk. It's they don't say suppressed, but they say in other words, get over it, right? We force on, we're this XYZ family and we got this. And that obviously it had its own repercussions on me as I got older. But I also see a little bit of a disparity between men and women. Why is it harder for men to recognize their own trauma?
Well, you're actually talking about two different things, right? Because you're talking about immigrants and assimilation and cultural assimilation issues.
Well, suppressing it.
Right, and I've done some research about this way in the past before these topics became more trendy to discuss, but a lot of immigrants have different kind of assimilation issues, trying to assimilate into this culture and to leaving their culture behind and dealing with that as well, and how it affects them mentally and how this kind of shows up symptomatically in them, such as with some of the immigrants with eating disorders. Sometimes people, when they have eating disorders, it's been seen as they have a fat phobia, but that's not always necessarily the case as to why those symptoms are showing up. So with an immigrant, for example, you can't say this across the board, but they may have different assimilation issues that are affecting them mentally, that are affecting their emotions. And then now they're using food as a way to cope, as opposed to it just being a fat phobia. Or it may be that they have a certain idea about how they need to look in order to assimilate into the society. And that may then cause them to have maybe different food or food restrictive behaviors. So there is that.
Are you referring to I think you're referring to this, where in Asian cultures, even in my family, where it's the first thing a grandma or father says to you is like, oh, you're looking skinny, or you're looking too skinny, or you're looking too fat. Like that's a common greeting in other cultures. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I'm actually in the context of like what I'm talking about is more of what other cultures see as the idealization of a, we're going to say, a woman or a man in America, and what you need to look like here to fit in.
Okay.
And so for a lot of those immigrants, they may believe that they have to be a certain shape or size or look or hair color or facial structure or whatnot in order to be accepted here,
Got it.
and how that then affects them.
Got it. Why is it harder for men to recognize their own trauma?
I think that men are taught in society to repress their emotions more, and that if those emotions come up, that it is, weakness or it's not strong. And they might have been taught this by their own families. So there is more of like a tendency to not acknowledge when things are bad and to try to look for alternative maladaptive coping skills, if you want to call it that, to kind of deal with these issues.
Say somebody experiences trauma, right? Is it possible for them to go through life without ever working through it and be okay?
It's absolutely possible for them to go through life without working through it, but they're not going to be okay.
So I went through a certain experience that led me to, it was like trauma after trauma, and then my body started to give off these neurological symptoms. This is 5 years ago.
Oh.
And one of the things that one of my doctors told me was, she goes, look, you're experiencing digestive issues. They stemmed after the trauma. She's like, and so did my neurological symptoms. She's like, your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system controls your digestive system. I could sit here and say, yes, I was cleared of everything, MS and all that nonsense. I was lucky. But she goes, however, because I was a runner and just wasn't eating enough or the right way, she's like, you literally were malnourished for 10 years. She's like, so when the trauma hit you, not just once, but 3 times, your body wasn't equipped to handle it.
Right.
Not here and not here.
Right.
So it's funny though, because in that moment, my mom was kind of like, aha, yeah, I told you. I wasn't grasping this. I knew it, but I wasn't. I mean, I was at such a fragile state at the time. I just wasn't grasping. And I was like, I just want to get better. Right. But that's the first thing she told me. She's like, your body cannot keep you calm in those states. You can't reason. You can't think. You can't figure anything out. So what do? Your sympathetic nervous system turns on and everything goes haywire, basically.
There's so many processes happening in your body right now that are completely involuntary and out of your control. But then there's also processes that are in your control, and you can control the things like what you put in your body.
Yeah. You can also learn to regulate.
Well, you can have some regulation mechanisms, but you can't, it's very hard to do things at the time that it's actually happening. Like, you have to prepare yourself. You have to be prepared. You don't go and run a 10-mile race, just run it. You have to prepare every day, right? So to live a balanced life and to be more balanced and to be more healthy, this isn't brush your teeth once a week kind of thing. This is, you brush your teeth twice a day. Yeah. You floss your teeth. You do what, you take care of yourself. Like, it's maintenance. And it's physical hygiene, your diet, your hygiene, and it's your mental diet. People forget about the mental diet. They're like, it's,
Because it's work. It requires work.
Everything's work.
Everything requires.
It's work to be sick. It's work to be sick, and it's expensive.
You're right. Like, you pick which work you want.
But a lot of people don't want to deal with things until it's too late.
You're right.
They deal with it after the fact. They wait till the roof is caving in before they actually do something about it. And the problem is, a lot of people are also living very unconsciously in life. So they're not even fully aware of what is happening because they're getting lost in alcohol and drugs and distractions in whatever vices that they're using.
Yeah. I see people ingesting things they know they shouldn't be, but you're right. No one's going to change that until they have to change it. Although, hey, I'm sure you know people who still don't. change their habits, and they should.
There's a lot of people that don't have a resistance to changing habits. I mean, I think that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why people come to therapy, because they're really trying to change something and they don't know how. And they've tried it, but they come up to their own resistance. They become their own worst enemy, and it's like, okay, I know I have to do this. Like, I know I need to go to the gym every day, but I can't do it, or I just don't do it. And I don't know how I can get myself to do it.
Let's use as an example. If somebody was coming to you like, I just don't know how to get myself to the gym, like I don't know how I can create this new habit for myself.
Right. Or I'm binge eating and I need to eat less, but I can't get myself, but I know the plans.
Yeah.
They've been all laid out, but I can't get myself to do it. The solution to the problem is not a direct solution to the problem. You don't get someone to change their binge eating, for example, by policing them. Send me a picture of everything you eat, and you got to weigh and measure and do this and that. Because you know what? If they're policed like that, eventually when they're on their own, they're just going to go slip right back into their old habits.
Trainers do that.
As long as you have a trainer.
Because they hold you accountable.
But what happens when you don't have that trainer anymore?
Right.
You got to have that trainer all the time in order to have the habit. So how do you change the habit? And how you get, one of the ways is it's a multi-pronged approach. It's complicated, but again, you go back to, why are they doing what they're doing? How do they develop this particular symptom, and what's the wisdom of this symptom, and what are they actually trying to get out of it?
I like that. What is the wisdom of this symptom?
The wisdom of the symptom. Yeah, and what are they trying to get out of it? And really, it comes down to the foundation of core belief systems and what emotions are really behind this. So when they're binging, do they tend to feel more anxious, and where's that anxiety coming from? Is it more of a sense of helplessness or shame or frustration or feeling out of control, or grief, a number of different areas that have shaped who this person has become and their behaviors and habits? It's not just one. And that's why when you treat someone, when we're very, very young, we're born and we don't know anything. We come into this world crying and laughing and whatever, and we don't judge ourselves. And only as we start to grow and we start to have these different experiences do we maybe realize, I'm not safe, or I can't express myself because I'm not heard, or I can't fully be myself. So then as you start to go through some more different experiences in life, how are you going to deal with those bullies when you don't have a voice? When you already feel bad about yourself and you're unsafe? How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with the rapes that happened to you? When you already didn't come in with the foundation of feeling strong. You can't just treat the symptoms. You got to go back and heal the root and the foundation. And it's a spiritual thing too. You got to get parts of yourself back that are not where they're supposed to be, right? That are sort of detached.
Right.
And so I do hypnosis and things which we can talk about a little more in depth, but you go back and you get more of a sense of safety and grounding for that person back. It's almost like playing a video game, and you get that, now, maybe they had issues in their family or with their father or mother or whatever, where they didn't feel heard, and that little girl gets to feel heard again, and she gets that part of herself back. And she starts to get these tools that are foundational tools, and that's part of it, where she starts to get the strength to deal with other things. And a lot of the symptoms, a lot of the symptoms start to melt away.
You have your own practice?
I do.
How did you start your practice?
With $100. Is that what you're asking?
Tell me more. Yes, that is what I'm asking.
I got all the experience that I needed to have. And I had been a director also of a program at a hospital that they had wanted me to find that program, and I founded that program on a shoestring budget. The program was doing really great, and a lot of people were sending their patients, practitioners were sending their patients into my program. But I did see problems with the system, the healthcare system. And I saw that a lot of mental health patients, and at the time I was dealing with some very, very severe people that had been in the system for a very, 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 very long time, deep in the system, and they never got out. And I thought, I've got to develop something where I can really heal people, right? So you don't come in with one problem and now they put you on a medication and now you're going to be on 30 medications after a couple of years. And so I had certain techniques that worked. You know, I started in an individual practice, and I had a different way of working with people, and I set up programs. I set up, 60 to 90 day programs, and people came in and I assessed them, and I worked with them, and I worked with some other practitioners that had a holistic
Viewpoint.
Yeah.
So I go to therapy and I also go to hypnotherapy. But hypnotherapy is new for me. I've only gone to 2 sessions. I think I have like 6 more left. And what I have found, one, first off, I should have gone years ago, like 10 years ago. But what I have found is that it helps me become aware of my blind spots. Does that,
Yeah.
I consider myself to be a very self-aware person because I read everything, I try to apply everything. So I knew, okay, it's time for me to go and get some help. Not because something was happening, but because I was like, there's more here that I am not uncovering on my own, and I want to be a better communicator. I want to be a better wife, a better daughter, a better friend, and whatnot. So in going there, I was like, okay, you can read all the books that you want. You can listen to all the podcasts that you want, all the interviews that you want. You can do all the self-free assessments that you want online. But it isn't until you have a professional in front of you whom you trust and you vibe with that you get to see that you have blind spots.
When it comes to healing people, and people heal themselves with the help of someone, with a healer, right? But it's not just in here. There's something extra that's going on.
I think it's an exchange of energy.
Yeah, there's other things that are going on in the healing process, and how a person can also bypass the thinking process. You were talking about hypnotherapy. I'm a hypnotherapist too. And a lot of people think that hypnotherapy itself is like, putting someone in a trance by following a ball in hand or something like that. There's different modalities about hypnotherapy, but a lot of it is with language, just sheer language. Like, you could just even be talking to someone, and that's not trance work, but you could be talking to somebody, and by the way that you're formulating a sentence, allow their brain to be more open to you to receive what it is that you're trying to convey. So it's called suggestions. There's different kinds of suggestions, like direct suggestions, indirect suggestions, and sort of how you frame sentences and stuff to get people to lean in one way or another. But one of the techniques that I have, and we didn't talk about this so much before, is where I target specific memories. And basically, through the process of a co-collaboration, while you're in a trance state, but where you can talk back to me, we go into that memory, we restory it in the brain. We restory it to heal parts of it that were affected at the time, so that then we can reclaim those parts back. You can come after the restoring feeling more like stronger and healthier and better. And if you felt helpless, you feel strong. If you felt sad, you feel happier, right? Like that. And really, we lock it in by storing it properly in the brain, because most of the memories in the trauma memories get stored in the short term, and that's where you get a lot of like flashback memories and memories that are not properly processed. When they go into the long term, that's it. It's solid. It's there. And then what happens is you start seeing that renewed person show up differently in their life, right? Like where it's like, oh, I would normally respond this way, but then I responded that way,
Yeah. How do you get people to be okay? They're not going to listen to me. How can you get them to be okay with, like, we all need therapy? Because that's how I feel.
The people that I work with, they come to me because they want help, right? Unless they're a teenager or someone that doesn't want to be there and their parents are forcing them to be there. So it's different than, say, you have a friend who has an issue, you see that what their issue is, and you're trying to get them to a place where they want help. That's a very different thing. People that I work with, they already know they have a problem. They already know they have a bunch of issues. They just don't know how to solve these issues, and they don't understand the full mechanics of it all. A lot of my patients have been to many therapists, many treatment centers before me. So they do have an understanding of how most therapies actually work. They just don't know how to solve it.
But how do we get the people who don't want to go? Because in my experience, the ones who don't want to go are the ones who have projected onto the ones who are going to therapy, right?
Yeah.
It's the people are in therapy because of the ones that haven't gone to therapy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of specific people in my life right now, and I'm trying not to.
No, I totally gotcha.
It's like,
I don't know. There's so many avenues to this. There are so many avenues and so many ways, because you can come from you got to know the person too. I mean, there are people that you can have a sit down with them and talk to them about them, and they'll say, okay, fine, and they'll understand that. And then there are people that it's something called tough love. It's something called you setting boundaries. Are you enabling the person who has the issue? Hey, bring me to the liquor store. Okay. They have a problem. You've gotten upset with them. You've tried to talk to them about it. They have different, you've taken different angles. But the bottom line is it's very difficult on a person because you've got to set very strict boundaries. Mm-hmm. Very strict boundaries. And it's very uncomfortable to do that.
Yeah.
And when you're in real life and you're not in a therapy situation, therapy is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's so easy. It's like,
yeah, it's great in the moment.
This is so easy for someone to come in here and I can just work with. I just see the way that they blossom and I help them resolve problems. This is like fabulous. Like, you want to try to resolve them out there in real life, it's a lot harder than in therapy, at least in my room. But yeah, it's a lot of tough love and it's a lot of boundaries. And for the people setting those boundaries, you're going to probably, need to be the ones in therapy because it's going to be hard on you.
How can family and friends be helpful and not make it worse when they see that somebody is going through trauma or has gone through trauma?
I think that when you're asking that question, you think about what your child self would want in a situation. Like, you can think back on your own situations and what was it that you needed in times when you were hurting or you didn't, you needed something or whatever. So try to be that as a parent for your child, right? So try to validate them. Don't say it's all in your head, or don't just try to give them simplistic advice to just kind of brush it off because it's making you uncomfortable. Like, a lot of times parents, they get very uncomfortable if their kids are upset or their loved one's upset, and they make it more about them and their own discomfort rather than allowing the person to be able to express their feelings.
Learning to hold space.
Holding space.
Yeah.
And so that is something that the parent would have to work on. And then also, being encouraging. That too, I think, try to encourage confidence in that child about life learnings and life lessons, and that, something can be different down the line, to provide some type of hope.
What are some signs that family and friends can look out for that this person needs help, that this person should be seeking professional help for their trauma?
There's so many friends that need professional help. I mean, there are so many.
We all have those friends.
There are so many friends that need professional help. Be a friend, first of all. It is one of the hardest things. I mean, especially like as a therapist and stuff, like, don't therapize me. I don't. Okay. I'm a friend to my friends. You've got to be a friend to your friends. Like, what is it that you would want? Like, you would want your friend to listen or to encourage strength, be there for you.
But sometimes I feel like listening enables.
Sometimes you got to do some tough love too. Like, sometimes you do have to set boundaries. Sometimes you do have to say, that's it. It depends on the situation. You can't enable a person either if you want to see some change. But it does kind of depend.
What about family? Parents, families go through trauma where it affects the parents and the child.
Interestingly, many years ago, I did an internship. It was like a volunteer thing. In my training, it was at Camp Good Grief. That was part of hospice. They do that every year. And at the camp, they have like a lot of young kids come to the camp, and they are all going through grief. And during the day, you know, these kids played, and they were, you know, in the pools and just laughing and having a good time. And at night, a lot of times they were crying, and they couldn't sleep, and and in the day you would never know, right? Because the kids a lot of times hide it, but it comes out in those quiet moments. These kids had a lot of grief, and it was really like one of those things that at the end, you know, they all had to write this letter to their loved ones, and they had this bonfire, and you had to walk each kid up to the bonfire and, you know, toss the letter in the bonfire, and you see the ashes go up, and the whole camp was like wailing. All these kids were crying, and it was heartbreaking. But the point being is that with children, they're not always going to be, it's not always going to be blatant. They're not going to show you. Because like I said, they're running around happy all day. You would never know they lost a parent. You would never know, you know, their father or mother died. It was just their coping mechanism. So you got to pay attention to your kid. A lot of families don't spend a lot of time together. They don't even eat at the table anymore together.
You're right.
I mean, when I grew up, my family ate together every night. My parents knew what was going on. I mean, I was there. They were looking in my eyes, you know, they were talking to me, you know, and they could pick up on little nuances, like more than anything, because they saw me there, and I almost like had to report to the table every night, you know. I'm half Italian, half Dominican. I'm an only child. Come from a large family, but I'm an only child. And at that table, we talked about a lot of stuff. And I was never told, well, I'm talking. We were all talking. It wasn't like this. We were all talking over each other. But I was still allowed to talk. And a lot of kids are not allowed to talk.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not allowed to talk. So you have to be able to allow someone to express themselves.
But how long does it take typically to rewire these patterns into your brain?
You're not gonna like my answer.
I want the truth. I'll like it if it's...
Oh, well, unfortunately, here, let me put it this way. If you have a robot that's programmed to operate a certain way, and that robot has to be reprogrammed to operate a different way, how do you get that robot to change their programming in the first place so they can think different, to be different, when they're already... Like, in other words, if they can't hear themselves,
Right.
So how are they going to hear themselves? If they can't speak, they're not, you know, voicing their thoughts. They're already programmed not to voice their thoughts. So how are they going to do it? You know, a person could learn because they're told, you know, you really should, you know, vocalize how you feel. They go, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I could do that. Some people will actually make a very strong effort to really do that, and you have to be very, very conscious about it, and be very self-correcting with that over and over and over again until it basically just gets drilled into your being. But some people will say it's like a diet. Some people can do something for a couple of days or a week, and then boom, they're back to their old patterns.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So to fully reset and change yourself, you know, some people can never do that. Isn't that a scary thought?
That is very scary.
Well, that's why, that's why some people are stuck into old patterns. Some of them are in their 60s or 70s, and parts of them are acting like they're 15. They're that 8-year-old that wasn't heard.
Well, now that you say it like that, I know people like that, or I knew people like that.
Yeah.
That as they got older, it's almost like
They get worse.
More of that came through.
Well, yeah, because it's more of a frustration with self. It's more of a disconnect. It's this conflict with self that's never resolved. And when you have a trauma, basically, it's almost like a part of yourself goes away. It's still there, but it's not where it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So as time goes on and different experiences happen that maybe reinforce disconnect with that part of yourself, it just gets further and further away from you. And you might have been trying to get that part of yourself back, but maybe nothing's changed, maybe things haven't gone your way, and you just get more and more angry, more upset, more frustrated.
Professionally, how long do you think it could take?
It depends how good the professional is.
For you?
For me, it depends on the issue, but I mean, most of the patients that I treat, I mean, 3 to 6 months.
You're saying that, yeah, if it's a really good therapist, you shouldn't have to go forever. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Here's the thing, right? There's always going to be things that happen in life. There are going to be things that maybe you're not prepared for, and there are other different memories that pop up and things that you've never worked on before, or there are new things that need to be worked on.
Mm-hmm.
But if I help you to regain balance and to maintain balance from the previous issues when we did our assessment,
Mm-hmm.
and you are functioning better than ever. I mean, you're out there doing your thing, and you're skillful living, skillful thinking. What do you need to see me for? What are we going to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
Baseball? The news? I'm not there for that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking for a buddy? Like, some people want to come in and just do a little tune-up, like, hey, this is what's going on, but therapy is not a dumping ground. You have a friend for that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I mean, there's different styles for therapy. Me personally, I would benefit from somebody listening to me, because I could, for the most part, come up with my own solutions. I just need someone to listen to me. Do you want to listen?
I'll listen. I'm here. I'm listening to you.
But like, most of the people, they just hear their own self-talk,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't come up with the solutions. So if they just come in and they're just talking, and I'm just sitting there listening to them, what are they getting out of it? Nothing. They're not going to get anything out of it, right? Like, I don't need degrees to do that. They don't need to pay me to do that.
Right.
They can do that with a friend. My approach is different. My approach is, what are the problems? Let's fix the root, and let's get you
Out there.
out there.
Yeah.
I want to see the birds fly. I had a professor in college. I said, do you mind writing me a recommendation for an internship at the White House? This was like during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, right? So it was like really, really hard to get an internship there. And he said, Lisa, I think you would make a great intern, but, I'm going to be honest with you. NYU is a great school. He said, but the people that get those internships, they're, they come from a family of politicians, or they go to Harvard. They're like the Kennedys. And I said, okay. I said, but can you still write me a recommendation? He said, no problem. And I got that internship. I spent months putting together that application. Oh my gosh. It was such an application. And they had to do background check on me and everybody in my family and everything like that. And I remember the first day of the internship, I was in a room that was that blue room that they do a lot of the press conferences that you see on television. And the woman speaking there said, there were 2,200 applicants this year. And she said only 200 were accepted, the 200 in this room. And I sat there and I was like, I'm one of them. But I was only one of them because I believed in myself, and just took a risk. It's actually just, having stars to reach for and dream, and you just work hard and do it. You know what I mean?
This all gives into your self-worth, finding purpose, finding meaning in life. And
well, the word that comes up for me is confidence, because a lot of people ask me, how can I have confidence? I want to have confidence. And they think that confidence is something that comes to them like on some silver platter or something, right? Like they're just going to have confidence. You've got to earn that, right? And that is a lot of hardship. It's a lot of belief in yourself and something that you can't see yet. The analogy is this: anybody can get themselves together and compete on a stage and be in great shape on stage. And that for that one moment, they're fantastic shape and they got this and they're the winner. But in life, they fall off the tracks. That was just a moment in time. They fell from grace after that. Can you be balanced in life, right? Can you take care of your health in life? And those are the things that you're doing for yourself every day, every day. Not every day is perfect. There's some days like your 100% on certain days is, you're 85% on other days, right? But you just gave your as best as you could that day for whatever is going on. The only thing you can do today is take a shower, take that shower.
Yep.
You just keep going, going, going. But that's how you build your confidence. You actually build confidence through failure. You actually build confidence through taking risks.
Yep.
You actually build confidence in believing in things that you can't see and actually doing it. Like doing it, not just thinking about it, not just wishing, but doing it. I always believe that, you have to have a purpose and you have to be committed to developing the skills to accomplish that purpose.
You have to become that person who can handle that.
And it's not overnight, right? It's like you take these little baby steps sometimes, and the pressure that we have as a society to get there and to be there right now, like to do it, to have it yesterday, is not the reality, especially when you're an entrepreneur. It's not the reality. And so therefore it just kind of like mess with your brain a little bit, because you're like, I'm not getting there fast enough, or maybe I'm not good enough.
Yeah. Or am I wasting my time? Am I wasting my money?
Yeah. And guess what? Those are negative belief systems that get into your mind. You want to talk about trauma? You want to talk about, how many times have you been up at night going, I'm not good enough, or maybe this isn't going to work out, or worried, or what am I going to do next? And you have that fear come over you. Comes down to those negative core belief systems. So what we have to do is we have to, as cliche as it sounds, learn to give it to ourselves and to love ourselves.
Comes from within you first.
Like loving yourself. And people say, well, what does that mean, to love myself? They think loving themselves is plastic surgery and getting their hair done.
Well, that's the great topic too that you bring up, that yes, I'm all for doing self-love things.
Yeah.
Right? We're both girly girls, right? We love getting our hair done, nails done. Look, it's great. But I believe...
I wouldn't say I love it, but...
You don't love it? No, I love it.
I like getting foot reflexology. I like massages.
Oh, I love massages too.
I honestly don't like getting my hair done. I do like getting a facial. I don't like getting my nails done.
No?
No, I do it, but I don't like it.
Oh.
I like things that are feel-good things. Like I do like...
But you like to look good. That makes you happy at the end of the day, right?
I like to smell good too.
Yeah.
I like to look good, smell
Yeah,
good,
right?
be good.
So we do all the
little dry shampoo.
Yeah, like all the things that we do to like make ourselves feel
Yeah.
better. I think this is one of those moments where like you start to do all these things to yourself.
Yeah.
But then you're not doing the inner work for yourself. So you still feel some people, I'm not saying that's everybody.
So I think we live in a culture where we learn that we have to do things in order to have things, in order to be whatever it is. So I have to, do my hair so that I can have good hair, so that I can look good and be accepted.
Yeah.
Or I have to do a lot of work so I can make a lot of money so that I can then have freedom or a sense of freedom. And the story goes on, or I could be worthy, or I could be valued, or whatever. So doing, to have, to be. The end game is to be. And it's like, but I got to do all these things. And that's kind of like with the perfectionism.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I got to earn that. I got to earn to get to that point.
Yeah, like nothing comes easy. Like that's how I was raised, right? Like no free lunches, and you just gotta like struggle. Like everything was like if you're not struggling, then you're not doing anything, and you're not gonna become anything.
Right.
And you are not gonna be a productive citizen. And obviously it's taken me years to unlearn that. I do not feel that way or think that way anymore. But that starts to seep into other areas of your life, like your looks and your other relationships.
Especially as you get older.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, I'm doing all these things, but I can't the collagen isn't what it was. And it's like, and then what's going to happen? Everything's going to fall apart, you know? So it's harder to keep up. But what I was saying was we have this culture where we have to do to have to be, do more to have more to be, free, to be happy, to be loved. And a more Zen mindset is to work on being versus doing, right? And at least to be consciously aware of that. So work on a state. It's a state. It's a state of being. It's a state of abundance. It's a state of gratitude. It's a state of love. You work on that state, and then you do the things that are in alignment with that state.
Yes.
Doing the things that are in alignment with that state of being. And then guess what? and then you have.
You have.
Because then the money comes and the opportunities come and the relationships come. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different way, but it's not even thinking. Guess what? It's not thinking, it's being. It's being. It's not thinking.
It's the not thinking that actually gets you there.
It's the not thinking.
This is an example that just came up to my mind, was like, right now there's like biohacking. Everybody has to do red light therapy. And don't get me wrong, I do red light, but everyone has to do this and you have to do this. And we're bombarded with things that we have to do before 9 a.m. to not look like we're 40. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think what you're saying though is just like, that also in and of itself is becoming a stressor and aging people. You're trying to be young, you're trying to look young. This is a superficial example, but you're trying to look young and be like, and you think by doing more, you're going to get there, but really it's not becoming like it's not aligned action. It's more like you feel stressed in the morning to get up so that you have 3 hours to do all of your biohacking stuff. That's not serving you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like if people could adopt what you just mentioned, and you put it so beautifully, that it's all about being. And then the aligned action comes, and then you're going to be doing. And at that point, you pick one or two things.
Well, it all goes down, it all comes back to, and this kind of leans into a conversation of spirituality and stuff, is who are we? Who are you? Who is the I? And, you know, you spend your whole life trying to develop the I of who am I? And, you know, what am I? Am I a doctor? Am I a lawyer? Am I an entrepreneur? What's my resume? What do I have? And how do I identify myself? And how do other people identify me? Not just like physically, but in every aspect. And then you spend the other part, you start to say, yeah, those things are a part of me. There's something that I've created, but there's a whole aspect of undoing. Not necessarily undoing not doing those things, but the undoing of the thought process of the who am I, because it comes down to being, you are not your thoughts.
I had to unlearn.
You have to unlearn humility.
Things. Yeah, I had to unlearn, and obviously I went through a period of blaming parental figures, right, for making me feel a certain way or thinking that this was what I was supposed to be doing or whatnot. You unlearn that, you have forgiveness, you have compassion, and then you have this moment of like, well, from here on out, I make what life I want for myself. And in that unlearning, I think you also start, not maybe undoing, but you chart a new path for yourself. And that's where you start to pick up on new habits, new ways of thinking. Then you seek help maybe, or maybe you sought help and that's what brought you to this path. Everyone's journey looks different.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone seeks therapy or goes to therapy at different stages of their life. At least that's what I've seen. But yeah, that was beautifully put.
I mean, are we a soul in a body or a body with a soul? It's a very different way of thinking.
What do you think?
I'm a soul and I have a body.
That's how I feel.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's not how everybody feels. Some people just feel like they're just here and they live and they die and that's it.
No, I think I'm a soul and I'm having an experience in this body.
Yeah.
And as who I am, it's whatever I'm creating it to be. No one tells me that. It's ever changing, ever evolving. And it's what I get to say I is. But I also believe that the soul is a part of a bigger consciousness, a bigger energy field out there, is how I see it.
And it is. And the thing is that, kind of going back to your conversations about trauma and everything, there's, you know, what we know, and what we know is so little. We want to believe we know everything, especially when we're younger. We're like, I know the answers to everything. We don't. We just only know what we know. And then there's what we know that we don't know. I know that I don't know how to speak Japanese. There's plenty of things. There's places that I've never been, and I know that I've never been to those places. If there's a problem, I know that there's a problem, but I don't know maybe how to solve the problem. And that's a bit bigger. There's a lot more that we know that we don't know, but then there's also what we don't know that we don't know. And that's huge. That's so expansive. And basically that's our possibilities. And there are things in your life today that were once possibilities that you didn't even know about. There were things that you didn't know that you didn't know, and now you know them. There were friends that came into your life or opportunities, and there were different experiences that you had on your path that you never planned for. They were unknowns, and now they're knowns.
Yeah.
And that's so important because I think that when we talk about spirituality, a lot of people think about it's like a religion. It's two different things. You don't necessarily have to have a religion to have a connection to something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
And to understanding that there is something bigger, that are possibilities, and keeping an open mind.
Open mind. Yeah. And something that has helped me in the past is understanding and believing. I honestly don't know how this came to be for me, but I believe that I find the language, the human language, all the languages in the world, to be very simple. And I think that we take these concepts of God, religion, universe, consciousness, the solar system, and all these things, and we try to put them into words to try to comprehend, to try to understand, because the human always needs to know the why, right? Why am I here? Why does this work this way? Or what's happening to me? Or how do I fix it, right? We can't just let things be. We're never okay with just it is. Well, now that I'm talking to you, it's maybe because like I grew up bilingual, so the word love has more than one there's more than one ways to say like I'm deeply in love with you in Hindi.
Oh, okay.
But in English, I can only say I love you to my husband. I don't have another choice of words than like I love you, I care about you, and that's it. So whenever I think about these deeper topics, like I'm discussing with you, I'm actually thinking in two different languages.
That's cool.
And the words that I can come up with for this is too simple, what's out there, all the esoteric things, the things that we can't even comprehend or measure yet. We think we know that there's X amount of universes, like more tangible, more scientific things. Then that helps me understand that even at the very basic micro level of me, that there are unknowns. And if there's unknowns, then there's a possibility of something. So if I can imagine it, all I have to do is imagine. If I can imagine it, then it's possible. And that's because my mom raised me to like, she's like, you know, oh, mom, are aliens real or dinosaurs? You know, all these things we used to ask. And she's like, if you can think it, it existed or it exists or it will exist.
It's actually called manifesting, right? It's sort of a living in the end.
Yeah.
And the issue is, it relates back to psychology and all of that, is what are you thinking? What are you imagining? Are you imagining some existence for yourself that's better than now? And can you feel it?
Can you feel it?
Can you be it? Can you be in it?
People associate imagining with just visualization, but the missing factor I think a lot of people get is like they can't feel it because it's not happening right now. But if you can imagine something and really get into it and feel it, that there you go. Now you're going to manifest it.
You're scripting your story. I always say you're the author of your own experience. But if you're just basing your experience only on what's happened in the past, you're going to consistently replicate that past as part of your story.
It's limiting.
Yeah. So actually scripting your story, and then creating the foundation and the elements that support the beingness and the feeling of that story, right? So you can even go to the past and say, oh, I can imagine a time when I felt really, really happy, and that, you know, I was really happy and I was really surprised, or I felt really in love or whatever. And then as you're imagining some kind of future experience, it could be something else. It could be, I don't know, getting an award or something, or getting married, or whatever it is. You kind of pair this with that, you know?
Because you know how to feel. You know like now you know how to feel, but that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I can kind of relate to that because I remember that when I competed for Miss Vermont, it was a while ago. I had a lot of work to do to prepare for that competition, and I had like a very short time, and there was a lot that I didn't believe in about myself, and then there was a part of me that was like, no, I'm going to try to, you know, turn this all around. And when I won only by 1 point, but I didn't know that I only won by 1 point. When I was on that stage, there was something that happened in that moment where I looked up and I was like, I just saw like this light, and it was just like this joy and this happiness, that it was like something that I worked so hard for that happened. And it was very affirming to me, and I felt really great. You know, it was like this feeling of abundance. It was like the universe talking to me or something in that moment. And that moment was imprinted it was imprinted in my consciousness, the same way that other moments where I was sad or whatever, were also imprinted. But that happy, that abundance moment was imprinted. And if I sometimes tap into that,
Yeah.
I get there.
Yeah.
You know, if I say, okay, this is something that I'm trying to like create over here, something, whatever it is, I can tap into that feeling over here and bring it over here. And sometimes I can get transported to that place through a song.
A lot of the times we want to go back in the past to think about the negative stuff, right? The sad stuff or the
Right.
trauma that happened, the loop that we get stuck in. But we can do that with the positive experiences too,
Yeah.
and take ourselves back there to like love, happiness, abundance, you know, all the good stuff in our
Those
life.
surprises that showed up at your door.
Yeah. And
Those
now
happy moments.
put them into the future and apply to what you're trying to accomplish or do and see yourself. Now you're like, I do feel that love and I do feel that excitement.
And you know what I call them? Sparkling moments.
Sparkling moments.
That's what I call them.
I love
you know?
that.
Those sparkling moments that you've had in your past,
Yeah.
in your present.
Yeah.
Those are times of exceptions, you know, times when you thought things were going one way, you had a breakup, you thought it was never going to happen again, you were never going to hear from this person again, and next thing you know, knock, knock, knock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, like some kind of positive turn of events.
Yeah.
That's a sparkling moment, or something that, oh yeah, I can never do that. And then you did it and it was like, oh wow, that was so cool. I had such a good experience with that. Like another sparkling moment.
I think these things also, if you're paying attention to them and aware of them, they reprogram your mind. They rewire your brain, right? Because then you're like, I can, or it is possible. Life is good. And it also automatically takes the focus off the negative. Can you walk us through the mantra technique?
When we're talking about core belief systems and you kind of narrow in what are the core belief systems that are kind of the weak ones, and it could be, I'm not good enough, trying to make it your mantra of I am good enough for me. And even if you don't believe it, you say it, you embody it, you write little sticky notes and put it around. One of the things that I like to do on my phone is I kind of have, like, you know, when you can hold the apps in a little frame, and I put a word on there that might be like loved. So when I look at my phone or I open the app, I can see that word at the top.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so subconsciously it's like feeding whatever that thought is. And the other thing is, another way you can encourage positive mantras is really pay attention to the music that you're listening to, not just how it makes you feel, but the words. Because music is very, very powerful, right? Sound therapy, music's powerful. And a lot of times we're jamming to music with words that are negative. And we're getting into it. And if you notice, a lot of the things that you listen to, like the songs that you listen to, have manifested in your life. I bet you. Like songs, maybe movies you watched, like movies you watched as a child that you watched on repeat. And I think about movies that I watched. There were certain movies and certain scenes that I would watch on repeat. And some of that manifested.
I hope positively.
Are you going to make me cry? No, I'm kidding. I'm
no.
kidding. I'm kidding. You know, some of it positively and some of it maybe not. Right?
I used to listen to a lot of rap growing up.
Yeah, I
And,
do like
you
rap.
know, 50 Cent, that was our
Right.
thing. But now as I get older, I feel better when I listen to like jazz or classical music.
Oh, really?
You know,
Okay.
like just, it's the tones, it's the melody, it's the cadence that like, it could just be playing in the background. And
Yeah.
I don't even know how many songs in and I just feel so good. You know, so I'm very aware of that as well now. Someone who can't afford therapy, what would you suggest they start with, or what can they do?
Nature. Going back to being, going back to the simple. You know, we make things really complex. But, you know, like I said, I'm half Dominican. That's in my blood. And when I go to Dominican Republic, I mean, it's not as developed as over here. Okay, we're going to put it that way. But the way people are out there, the way they treat each other. I mean, the Uber driver, they help you on the sidewalk because the sidewalk may be broken. You might fall, and they care, right? There's a community. My family, they're praying before they eat. Like they have gratitude for things. They have joy for things. I've seen my 90-something-year-old great aunt out there, and she's happy as can be out there, and she's dancing, and she's, and here it's something different, but there she's got these people are helpful, and they appreciate the little things, and they have each other, they have community. Here, you might not even know your neighbor.
You're alone.
Yeah.
Here it feels like you go through life alone.
Yeah.
I think kids feel alone.
Yeah.
I also think
no, they have Instagram. They have Reels.
we're good. That's next. You're right.
You've got your favorite podcast to watch.
No, you're absolutely right. There's no human connection. There's no support.
Yeah.
You still feel alone.
Yeah.
And you're right. You just have to go back to nature, go back to your roots, the way things were.
Yeah.
I was recently in Italy, and I had the same experience where people were living. They were being. And that was enough for my husband and I to feel at home. Like that was enough to make us feel like, wow, we don't have this back home. People are like running around all over the place. Like there's this notion of doing here and not living or being. What is that saying? Work to live, live to work.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's like you're living to work.
I've been home a lot this summer for different reasons. I've just been home, and I'm always like busy doing my own thing, but I see people, I see what they're doing. I watch them on Instagram, and they're here and they're there and they're there and they're there and they're there and they're seeking something. I mean, these places are beautiful, don't get me wrong. I don't have to go to these places because all my friends go to them.
Right.
Right? I feel like I can eat, pray, and love in my own house.
Here.
Because it's wherever you go, there you are.
There you are. But is it because you've been exposed to the DR, because you're half Dominican, so you know what it's like to be living. You know what it's like to be. You've experienced that other side. And that's what feels whole to you. So you're able to bring that here with you. Or
you know what feels whole to me? Because I mean, I've done a lot of things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've like traveled, I've done things, I've met people. I'll tell you what's real. You know what's real? When you're sitting one-on-one with someone and you're having a great conversation with them.
Yeah.
Look where we are right now.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're not picking up your phone every 2 minutes.
Yes. Or like you're laughing with a friend. And yeah, you could be in a beautiful place, or you could be on your own couch, and that could be a beautiful place. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we get caught up in all of the things, like the 5-star meals at this restaurant or whatever, which I've had those meals.
Yeah.
Right? But the best 5-star meal is with people you love.
I know. Yeah. Amanda, can we please get a tissue?
No, I don't need
Are you
one.
sure?
I'm good.
You sure?
I'm good.
No, you're right. It could be in your own home, whatever that looks like, with your mom, your dad, your brother. I completely agree. What comes to mind when you're thinking about sharing a meal with loved ones?
I think happiness, right? Because, and don't get me wrong, I mean, a lot of people, when you ask this question, are going to be like, I share a meal with my loved ones and I hate them all. You know? Like, why would I want to share a meal with them? Again, we put a lot of emphasis in this culture about where am I eating the food and blah, blah, blah. It's the company you're with. And it takes a lot to realize that is a real thing.
I think it takes loss to realize that.
I think it actually takes having a lot of experiences. Like, you know, probably a lot of people who never had much think that by going out and trying to get these things, it's going to make them like a lot happier. And it takes them a lot longer probably to realize, oh my gosh, I have everything I dreamed of. And I've got, you know, the designer clothes, and I've got this and I've got that, and I've got all these titles and everything, and I'm still not happy. You know, it takes them like a lot longer to realize. But from an early age, I had everything. I had everything. I mean, there were things that I didn't have. I always had everything. Like, I didn't have a want for anything. I just didn't. And when I was a kid and I had Christmas came around, I believed in Santa and everything. I'd wake up and I'd have like a billion, presents under the tree, and it took me 3 hours to open them. And then by the time I was 15, something came over me. I was really like deep in philosophy and stuff, and something came over me, and I was just kind of like, I don't care about those presents. I don't care about that. You know, like, that's not important. It's not that important. Like, why do we put so much emphasis on all these material things? Because I don't mind drinking out of a plastic cup, but I know people who won't.
15 is young to have that realization.
Yeah. And I always was deep like that. But again, I've eaten with the elite, right? I've dined at some of the greatest tables in America, and I don't care.
Yeah.
It was interesting when I was doing it, right? And it's fine.
Yeah.
But I could have a wonderful time eating pizza.
Yeah.
Or eating pasta or whatever I want to eat in a simple thing with a friend. People are like, but why when you could do this? And I was like, well, I can eat, pray, and love at home.
Yeah. What does a trauma-informed society look like?
I don't know. I haven't lived in one.
But if you could help facilitate that, right?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. I guess.
I figured that much.
Trauma-informed society is that everybody watches this show every day.
Watch this episode every day.
So I think that knowledge, first of all, I think it is actually a good thing that people are coming out and talking about what's going on with them and talking about from their personal experiences, because I do think that it's validating for people to see, oh, this person, it's almost like what you would see in group therapy or something, right? Like, oh, this person's experiencing that. I'm experiencing that too. They're experiencing a health issue. I'm experiencing that too. They went through narcissism abuse. Narcissistic abuse. I'm going through that too. And a lot of the influencers, they cry, they laugh, they show their different emotions. Like, hey, that's okay. I can do that too. So I think a trauma-informed society is a society where we accept ourselves more, and we accept the areas for ourselves that need growth as well. But feelings are a big thing, because a lot of people are afraid of feelings because they feel like they're going to get out of control with them. But the reality is that they don't know what their feelings actually mean. And every feeling actually has a meaning. So every feeling is an action symbol, for a signal for you. Every feeling is an action signal. Like anger, when you feel angry, it's like some standard or rule for yourself has been violated. And so when you're getting angry, you'd be like, okay, what standard or rule for myself is being violated right now? Instead of just being like, okay, I'm angry, I'm crazy, this is irrational. Because maybe that's something people have told you. Every time you got angry, they're like, oh, stop acting all crazy.
Right.
But why are you angry? Actually, why are you angry? What is bringing that up? And if you know that some rule or standard for myself has been violated, then you can ask yourself, what was that exactly, Did you block someone and they found a way around the block and that's why you're angry? Like, what are you angry about exactly? Yeah. So just knowing that your body has wisdom. And so we live in a society where we're trying to tell our bodies what to do all the time. We're trying to control our bodies in all kinds of different ways. And the body has a wonderful way of healing, and it has a wonderful way of just doing what it needs to do. And sometimes you just got to let it do what it needs to do. So
you have to get out of the way.
Right. So instead of you telling your body when it needs to stop crying and handing me the tissue like you wanted to do earlier. Stop that. It's making me uncomfortable. I'm like, no, Nina.
Yeah.
No. You got to sit with that discomfort. I see what I did. No, but it's like allowing your body to tell you when it needs to stop.
Right.
So let it flow and you'll see, like, it will stop.
Yeah.
And instead of you judging yourself, here I am, a therapist. God forbid I'm crying, especially on camera. Oh my God.
But it's like you're giving permission for other people, right? That's why we learn from each other.
Well, that's like one of the things. It's like, oh my God, but you're a therapist. Like, how could you be upset? How could you be sad? How could you be angry or anxious or whatever? You're a therapist. It's like, but I'm human too.
You bring up a very good point. No, you bring up a great point because Ellen and I have discussed this, our director. And, you know, you look at people like Bruce Lipton or Joe Dispenza and all these people, and I'm like, sometimes they don't talk about a lot of their personal struggles in their personal life. And we were talking like maybe they don't because they don't want to be seen failing.
Yeah, I have found that people do kind of like a more authentic person. They do like an authentic person. And the biggest thing is to make other people feel comfortable around you. That's how you get people to like you too, is making them feel comfortable around you. But the only way they're going to feel comfortable around you is if you're comfortable with yourself.
That's right.
You know, if you're like authentic and, you know, if you can cry, if you can laugh, you can be angry sometimes, you can be a bit imperfect.
If you can be real, then they'll be real.
You-
You're giving them permission to be themselves because you're being yourself. Is it important to have to believe in God or something else outside of yourself to heal?
There's a very good amount of people out there that have had traumas and consequently maybe addictions too. And you'll see with those people, a lot of them have a very distant relationship to their own spirituality. And we're not talking about religion. We're talking about their spiritual connection. But as they heal, and I've seen this time and time again, as they heal, their spiritual connection gets stronger. Their belief in what they can't see becomes stronger. Their connection to nature becomes stronger. So it's not even that they're coming to me and going, I believe in God, you know, or I'm going to church or anything like that. But it's just that you just see more of a glow and a vibrance and a need to connect to nature. And you just see that, and you know. It comes out in their gratitude and the way that they talk.
They feel more love, I think. They feel safe.
Love.
They feel
Yeah.
supported. It doesn't have to be 10,000 people in their life, but they feel like this. I think of my mom when you're saying these things. And she has this belief in, she's a very spiritual person. And she just, no matter what has happened in life, she has this way of like, I'm not going to say handling it, like finesse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She does feel things, she does process things, but she believes that there's a larger plan. She believes that she knows. And she raised us the same way too. Like, you guys are a soul with a body, you know, we're passing through, and what you do with your time that's your choice, and don't fear death. And this is just a process, like, you know, but not everybody has that upbringing.
There is a light and a darkness in this world. And some people go, I don't believe that. Well, just look around you. And it's harder to follow the path of the light, because the darkness, that's instant gratification. That will happen fast. And that's going to come, people are going to come to you and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to show you a quick way to do this. I'm going to show you a quick way, you know, to feel better. Here, take this drug. You're going to feel happy if you take this drug. Okay, cool. And you take that drug and you feel good, happy in another place for a second, and then you got to do it over and over and over again, and it leads you down that path of breakdowns and problems in your life.
Even just side effects. I mean, it's so the things that you're going to deal with down the road with taking that pill.
Yeah, and the thing is, the path of the light is a tougher path, because you will have to sacrifice. You will have to sacrifice to gain. You will lose to gain. And eventually it will happen, but there will be losses to gain, and a lot of people don't actually. And then the miracles happen, but they begin small. Those miracles begin small, and those little miracles kind of add up to something big. But that's where your belief in something greater than yourself, and it's a conscious decision to follow the path of the light. I've always leaned on prayer. I've always leaned on that.
Yeah.
If you're lost and there's nobody else, and there will come a time when you feel alone, and you feel maybe even a little lonely, you know, there's going to be a time like that. If you have a higher power that you can lean on, you'll feel like there's a certain humility, you know, with leaning on a higher power. There's a certain humility with being able to get on your knees like that and be like,
yeah,
I was wrong. Like, or I don't know, you know, so like, show me the way. And that humility alone is powerful.
Well, now you're also, just to connect it to a little bit to trauma, you're giving up that control, so to speak, I guess, in some ways. And you are not giving up, you're surrendering in like a beautiful way, where then you're not resisting and trying and getting stressed out. You know what I mean? Like, I think when you truly pray, it's alleviating your stress, which goes back to what you said earlier, like stress, the physical symptoms that happen from trauma and all these things. And then you have all these other issues that come forth. My take, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not, is that people who do pray, people who do believe in a higher power, whether it's God, something spiritual, something esoteric, whatever it may be, or you just believe in yourself, don't you feel that they bounce back from the trauma or heal faster?
Yeah, they have faith and they have hope.
But this has been great.
Thank
You so much.
It's been fun being here.
Where can our audience connect with you, find your work?
They can connect with me at www.therenewcenter.com, or they can connect with me at www.myrenewme.com.
Okay.
That's the tech side.
Okay. Instagram, socials, anything?
Instagram is Dr. Lisa Palmer.
Thank you.
Dr. Lisa Palmer.
Thank you.
You'll see me on there.